Hi, I'm Chief Meteorologist Ilya Naiman from Eyewitness News in Bakersfield. We're going to go over a little bit of the setup according to the weather as far as the devastating flooding goes that occurred in Texas over several days back. We are going to look at what happened that led to this event. Now, of course, there are going to be months and maybe even years of research going into this, but the basics are as follows. A very low-grade tropical storm formed over the western Gulf, and it actually made landfall in northeast Mexico between Sunday, June 29th and Monday, June 30th. That was associated with a huge plume of tropical moisture that actually moved northwestward into the Lone Star State. And at the same time as that moisture came in, humidity levels were very high and very thick through the atmosphere. An upper level system was forming over the west central part of the state, and the controversy is whether this was actually the remnant low of the tropical storm itself or a different one set up. Either way, at the upper atmospheric level, a very weak flow was set up because the jet stream was way far north, which is typical this time of year, and an area of high pressure was dominating over the central and southern plains. So this was a very weak upper atmospheric pattern, a lot of tremendously rich tropical moisture, and some instability formed, and the result was intense thunderstorms were developing in this particular area. Now, over the course of several hours between Thursday night and Friday morning, these thunderstorms formed, and they were fed by a tremendously strong supply of moisture from the south that kept going and going. And actually, the estimated rainfall, which is hard to say because many rain gauges were not actually activated in some of these areas, 15 to 20 inches of rain came down. So we're going to go ahead and take a look back at the satellite and radar from last Thursday evening into Friday morning. You can see here this huge ridge of high pressure, lack of clouds in the middle of it, and this is the tropical thunderstorms that are developing partly from the tropical system Barry and partly from the Mexican monsoon that is now getting started, and they just kind of sat and spun and developed and reorganized. And the radar is really impressive because as these thunderstorms developed, they came out and more came in. And as these thunderstorms moved over the same areas, some of them hardly moved at all, dumping multiple inches of rain per hour. And now the take-home message with all of this is, could this have been avoided? The answer is probably not, but could people have taken heed of the warnings, which the National Weather Service did a very good job on? They were ahead of this for several days in advance. The problem is at night, the warnings were issued and they became more severe with time, but by that time, most people were either A, unaware of the warnings, or B, maybe did not take them as seriously, and C, the floodplain, which was that river that the camp was on, was located along an area notoriously susceptible to flooding. So the take-home message is that these warnings, when they're issued, need to be communicated to the public as soon as possible, and the viewer or the person at home or camping or wherever has to have a secondary plan of action in the event that significant or dangerous weather can occur. Where will they go? What will they do with information? And the take-home message is to monitor weather as quickly, as frequently, and as necessary as possible, especially overnight. So we're going to talk about the last minute or so, what can we do here in Kern County? Because the answer is yes, flooding can and sometimes does happen right here closer to home as well. This time of year, we're looking at the Southwest U.S. monsoon season. It's about to get underway. That is a result of high pressure building up over the Rocky Mountain states, and that sends an easterly to southeasterly flow out of Mexico, which this time of year is saturated with moisture, and that results in afternoon and evening showers and thunderstorms, some of which do move into our deserts and to our mountains and sometimes into the South Valley as well. These can be quick hitting and they can produce heavy rain and localized flash flooding as well. So the take home once again is be aware of the weather out there. Always check for updated information. Take warnings seriously and have a plan of action in place should you need to get out of the way. Don't be around a river during a flash flood potential, and have a backup information source like a NOAA weather radio in case communications go out or your cell phone is out of coverage. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Eyewitness News Chief Meteorologist Ilya Naiman. Have a great day.